So, hello fellow banknote collectors, how you going? And after this video I need to empty my memory card. But today we're looking at Chinese banknotes and we're looking at the current series. So, with this current series, there's actually 3 dates. So there's, if you pick up one out of banknotes, this is Mao Zedong. Mao Zedong was pretty much president, communist leader of China from 1949 to 1976. 1949 is when they took over all of mainland China, as well as Hainan, which is one of the 2 large islands. The other one is Formosa or Taiwan, which I don't control. And he passed away in 1976, so there is his birth date and his death date. And that's a picture of him. So, you should learn about some Chinese history. He is most popular for the Long March, which most of his soldiers actually passed away or died. Anyway, we're talking about the date. So the date is on the back of the note with the image of whatever is on the banknote. So this is 99, 41 yuan, so yuan, or renminbi, so renmin, so it's people's currency. You get different dates as well. So here's the 2005, and if we go to the 100, you can see our 2015, and 41 to 50 there's also 2019, which goes with the 100 yuan 2015 issue. So let's have a look at the denominations that we have here. So we have the 1 yuan, we have the 5, I have the 10 yuan, 20 yuan, 50 yuan, and the 100 yuan is the largest banknote. And the exchange rate is roughly about 5 yuan. Well, it's roughly about 5.5 yuan equals $1 Australian. So basically, if you want to round it, 5 yuan equals $1. This one equals 20 cents, and the 100 yuan is equal to about $20. So if you go to China, you'll most likely encounter all of these banknotes. Now there are other banknotes in the Jiao series, and they still circulate, the 1, 2, and 5 Jiao. I have made another video on those, so I won't include them because I don't think I've made a video on these before. And another thing, if you're pretty much paying over probably 50% over face value, you're probably paying a bit too much. So this one, 20 cents. There are exceptions, probably $1 or $2 for this one you're paying online. That's basically an online cost thing, because it's just on any platform it's not worth selling anything less than $1. So you buy those as a bundle is probably your best bet. 50 yuan, it's equivalent to about $10. If you're paying like $15 for an uncirculated one, yeah, that's good. Between 10 and 15, if you're paying over that, I wouldn't worry about it. The 101, if you're paying like in between $20 and $30 for an uncirculated version, yeah, then that is good. If you're paying over $30, then don't worry about it. And if you wanted to get these, you could probably go to a bank and ask if they can exchange currency. So you can go to one of these currency booths and try. They might have all the banknotes where people actually take these banknotes to change. But if you try and get it from a bank and order it in, a lot of the times they probably only have certain banknotes. So I've never actually changed it. I always change it over in Hong Kong. So I never really have that problem, because Chinese currency can be used at some places in Hong Kong as well. So with a set exchange rate. So now we talk about what's on the reverses of these banknotes. So here we have languages, and the top one is the Yuan language. So we're looking at here. So the Yuan language, and the closest language you'll probably know related to this is Thai. So this is the part of the Thai language family. And that is a pretty comprehensive language in China, and they border on the Guangdong speakers. Then we have the Tibetan. So Tibetan is actually related to Mandarin and Cantonese. So, the Zhuang is here. So this is just Pinyin. This is just a transcribed Mandarin, probably a Beijing dialect. So the Zhuang language is down here, and they use the Latin alphabet. Here we have Mongolian. So Mongolian has their own language family, Mongolic language family. Here we have Uyghur, and that is part of the Turkic language family, and the most common one is Turkish. So Uyghur is related to Turkish. So here we have 4 different language families, and as you can see, there is no Indo-European. The Toktarans no longer speak in the Uyghur region of China. So the reverse of this banknote has the 3 ponds reflecting in the moon, and here we have some religious features sticking out of the water. So the 3 ponds, and that is in Hangzhou. On the 5 yuan, we have Mount Tai. So Mount Tai is a mountain of historical and cultural significance. Yeah, that's why they actually got it on. You can see the Chinese inscription. North of Tai'an City in Shandong Province. And this inscription just says that it's most revered of the 5 sacred mountains. So that is Mount Tai. And you can see the walking paths. The walking paths go down there. And there's another walking path up to a gate. And here we have looks like a waterfall actually. Probably a walking path. But that's nice, and it actually looks nice because in the background it looks like you got the sun rising in the background. It's quite a nice banknote. I actually quite like it. And this one is the 3 Gorges on the Yangtze River, and not too sure which one it is. There's Kutang Gorge, Wu Gorge, and Jilin Gorge, and that is in Hubei. So a gorge is this part here. So you got pretty much cliffs. I think in Norway these would be called like fjords, but fjords enter the ocean. So it's something similar, and that is because the river has been here all along, but the actual mountains are rising. So when the mountains are rising, the river cuts it down, but it doesn't have time to erode a lot of this rock here, because if you see a lot of Australian mountains are there on an angle because they have time to erode, and that is the 3 Gorges on the Yangtze River. So this side shows a karst system of the scenery in Guilin. So this is probably the Li River. Karst system, this is just limestone. I have seen this formation in Vietnam, so it's most likely part of the same sedimentary basin. So this is all eroded limestone. It looks beautiful. The conical pillars, so these are probably a lot harder limestone than the cracks and fractures, which are easier to erode. Got a person on a boat in the river. And as you can see, this one's not in the greatest condition because it's the only one I could get. I actually got these off my mother-in-law. I wonder if she knows I actually took them. I better give them back. On the 50 yuan, we have the Patala Palace in Lhasa, so that's in Tibet. It was the winter palace of the Dalai Lama, but it's now a museum, so if you get the chance to go to Tibet, I think the restrictions are tightening on Tibet, then you should go visit this place. It looks actually quite a nice large building. You probably get lost in it, actually. And the 101 has the Great Hall of the People. So this is the Legislative Assembly that is in China. And this is actually from the roof of it, I believe. This is in Tiananmen Square, which is a large square in China. And you can probably view Mao Zedong's body there if you happen to go there. There's some colonnades from the facade of the building. It's actually quite nice. So another thing that these banknotes have is a flower. So here we have a flower, and it's also the watermark. So for the watermark, we need to turn the light on. And the watermark on this is an orchid as well as a flower. These two should be the same. And I'm not too sure what orchid is, because orchid's quite an extensive family. And it is, don't know what species it is. Then on the 5U1 we have our narcissus. So, and it's a spring flowering perennial plant of the Amaryllis family. They include daffodil, narcissus, and jonquil. I don't even know if I said that right, because I just actually learned what it is. So it looks like a daffodil. We'll just go with daffodil, okay? So that's the type of flower it is. On the 10U1, we have a rose. So you should know what rose is. There's a rose in my front yard. Not doing too well, actually. And on the 21, we have a lotus. So there's a lotus there. The actual watermark is a lot better than the stylized flower. You can see the security thread, which has the denomination on it. The 51 has chrysanthemum. So the watermark is Mao Zedong though. And there's the Omnium ring. So these are designed so you can't actually scan it or print the actual banknote on modern devices. But that is a chrysanthemum. It makes a nice tea. And on the 100U1, we have a Prunus mummi, East Asian plant, and it includes Chinese plum, Japanese apricot. So it is an edible plant. So just because it says Japanese plum and Japanese apricot doesn't mean they're plums or apricots. If you look on Wikipedia, you'll find it quite easily. So these are Chinese banknotes. And these are the ones, if you go to China, you would actually be using. Just remember, values are $20 equivalent to Australia, $10, $4, $2, $1, and 20 cents. But the wages in China are lower. They're only about 10% of Australia. So these denominations would suffice for now. Personally, I reckon that they should issue a 500U1, considering that wages are still rising. But I'm not in China. I'm not Chinese. And here I'll leave the video. I know it's a bit long. I'll leave a link down below to Chinese banknotes, and have an awesome banknote and coin collecting time. Thank you and goodbye.